And so you learn this kind of formal school type Spanish. I had no idea where I was going. And when I got the call, I kind of immediately felt like it was inspired.
That's that's amazing. No, I love that, and I would imagine it would be really nice for everybody to have that inspiration about where they're going. But I know, and most people just don't get that. It's always like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's a complete surprise, you know. But that's
Yeah.
really cool that you had a dream about it. I love that. Yeah. So okay, you get there and you're learning Spanish, obviously. Did you do
Yeah.
MTC? Did you go to MTC here in the US, or did they have a different one down there, or was
Yeah,
it?
since that time, the MTC program I think has gotten more developed, and I honestly don't know exactly how it's all set up. I know there's different MTCs in different parts of the world now, and sometimes I think people go directly to those foreign MTCs outside the United States. Sometimes they do like a split of part
Right.
time in Provo or in Utah, and then elsewhere. I think it depends on where you're going, what language you're speaking, and so on. My experience was I went directly to the Provo MTC, which was the main missionary training center at that time, to learn both more about teaching and the discussions and gospel, as well as the language, the Spanish language.
Gotcha.
The interesting thing was a lot of people in my group knew some Spanish. Some of them were pretty good, actually. And so there was all different levels of language proficiency. That was very anxiety ridden for some of us. I honestly was just probably naive and optimistic enough that I'm like, I'll figure it out. And I had a brother that had learned Polish. I had a brother that had learned Korean. Funny enough, like my first call home a few months later, whenever it was, I think it was Mother's Day, my brothers were on the phone. And I said, hey, I'm still struggling with the language a little bit and trying to figure things out. Like, how long did it take you all to learn Polish and Korean? And they were like, never. Like, I was on the plane home and I didn't feel like I knew the language. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, hopefully that's not my experience. And they did say they're
Uh,
on. I think Spanish is, more realistic and easier to pick up.
yeah.
But yeah, we went to the Provo MTC, went through the language training program. By the time we left, I knew enough to stumble my way through some common phrases, to kind of maneuver through, getting a taxi and, those things. I mostly knew gospel language, Spanish. But my teachers, I had three teachers in the MTC that were teaching Spanish. One was an American who had served in South America. I think he had served in Chile. One was from Mexico City, so he was a native Mexican speaker of Spanish, which was awesome because he knew it from his roots and was just super
Right.
fluent. And then one had served, another American who had served in Spain. But those are three very different types of Spanish.
Right.
And the fourth type is Caribbean Dominican Spanish, which is very fast, a lot of slang. They've got their own dialect. They have strong accents. And so you learn this kind of formal school type Spanish. You get down to the island and you're like, wait, where did all that go? Like that, I have to start over kind of.
Yeah.
You knew the basics and the conjugations and everything, but you had to really get immersed and adopt the local dialect, the local language. And so when I learned that even more when I came home and I started speaking to people in Spanish in Arizona, which has a heavy, Mexican population. And they were like, where did you learn Spanish? Like, your Spanish is ugly. And they, they're saying this to me in Spanish. And I'm like, oh, I learned in the Caribbean and the Dominican Republic. And they're like, yeah, I can tell. Like, your Spanish is ugly. And I was like, oh man. So I got kind of discouraged there. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to turn this into a profession, but
Uh,
that was a bit about my kind of language training in the MTC and how it translated into the work.